good shot. Oh my!
You to celebrate Georgetown! The Georgetown Raiders are Buckland Cup champions!
The Trenton Golden Hawks, the R. Hewitt Cup champions, are going to Coburn.
Back to Minerva. Shot scores! And the Coburn Cougars are the Royal Bank Cup champions!
Jack McBain showed once again why he's so high on the radar of NHL scouts last weekend with a dominant performance against the Mississauga Chargers. More on that coming up in just a moment. This is the OJ Today. Welcome, everybody. I'm Alex Bastiavansky. Today, Alex Bloomfield, the commentator for the Pickering Panthers, will join me via Skype to talk about the Northeast Conference in general as we catch up on what's happened so far this year. Also, one of the surprise teams over the first couple of months of the season has been the Newmarket Hurricanes. So currently, they're battling it out for first in the North, and we'll have a feature story on the Canes today. But first, OJ, game highlights, and another squad that's turned heads so far this season has been the Mississauga Chargers. Now, they're nowhere near the top of their division, but they're far more competitive than they were last year, and are currently flirting with a playoff spot, and they were looking to continue their strong play against the Junior Canadians last weekend. Unfortunately, the aforementioned Mr. McBain had something to say about that. OJ Game Highlights now brought to you by Cool Sports, official apparel provider to the OJHL. The Chargers much improved this year, but have actually struggled a touch as of late. First frame, Dalton Ewing, larceny on Mississauga's Christopher Karabassis, but the Chargers do strike first. Orion Hexamer, 5-hole on Ewing. Missy jumps out to the 1-0 lead. But as mentioned, projected NHL first-round pick Jack McBain had a game. Knocks home the equalizer with 4 minutes left in the first to knot it up. Second period now. More from Mr. McBain. Jake Joffe with the sweet feed from behind the net. No chance for Luca Durante. And Les Canadiens jump ahead. It's 2-1. Third period, tons of scoring. JRC's up 3-1 now. Chargers can't clear their zone. McBain and Joffe work their magic again. Joffe putting it home this time. It's 4-1 Canadians. Mississauga never says die, though, on the PP. Brandon Yeamans, the wicked wrister past Ewing, and they cut the deficit to 4-2, and then a GRC's miscue leads to the second of the night for Hexamer. He deposits the gift. Chargers trailing by just 1 now, but then McBain.
And they'll come back the other way. Renning over to Jack McBain. McBain coming in looking for the Hattie. McBain right to the... Oh, Jack McBain! Oh, are you serious? Oh, my goodness, Jack McBain put it in the AGO. That was a masterpiece.
Hey, you know it's a good one when the announcer's voice actually cracks. Great call. Hat trick for McBain. JRC's win 6-3. A rapidly improving Kingston squad headed west to visit Newmarket. All Canes, though, in this game. Newmarket power play, Owen Ramsey, top scorer for the Canes this year. You can see why. He puts his squad up 1-0. And then Alex Irulo steals, turns on the Jets, goes 5-hole on Andrew Ferrier. Newmarket adds to its lead. It's 2-zip. Second frame, more from Irulo. Great solo effort here. And the wraparound makes it 3-0 Hurricanes. But that's when the V's woke up. Power play, Brandon Nadeau. This baby had eyes. Somehow he finds daylight in the top corner from a bad angle. And they were on the board, trailing 3-1. Another power play 5 minutes later, and it's Nadeau again. He bangs home the rebound. Suddenly, the V's only trail by 1. It's 3-2. But then...
By Hunt this is. Ryan Hunt. Oh, what a beauty! Savory says how sweet it is.
Oh yeah, sweet and savory. Nice. Third frame, the Canes put it out of reach. Cole Thiessen Shot from the point, it goes. Newmarket up by a 5-2 count. They'd add an empty netter to make it a 6-2 final. Those Hurricanes looking like a contender through the first third of the season as they retake first place in the North. Boy, the Whitby Fury could use a good result, and they got one against Stouffville, wearing their special jerseys in commemoration of Remembrance Day. Nice moment at center ice before the game, and for the first time in 5 contests, the Fury strike first. Riley McCutcheon makes it a 1-0 Whitby lead, and then a bit of a head scratcher. Austin Hewlett with what looks to be a pretty damn good body check, but gets 2 and 10 for head contact. Ouch. Tough call. Might have been the follow-through that got it. Second period, Liam Robertson deflects the point shot home, and the Fury pad their lead. They're up 3-0. Remember, Whitby hadn't won in 12 games, so they were loving this change of pace for sure. Then short-handed 4 minutes later, Shane Bull steals behind the net, puts it home. Fury in full control, up 4-0 at that point. Third period now, nice give and go between the Fury players. Jason Stachelbach smacks in the return pass. Whitby leading 5-0. Stouffville would break the shutout as Jack Varga hammers one past Luke Pearson, but the Fury cruise to the 5-1 win. Afterwards, Stachelbach stopped by and talked about what this team is going to have to do to get back into the playoff race.
Make sure we get pucks out and no giveaways on their blue line and in the neutral zone. So yeah, I think if we keep those down to a minimum, we'll be pretty successful. And
OJ trivia for this week: who was named the OJHL top defenseman last year? First correct answer to our Morocco at the OJHL.ca wins an OJ prize pack. And welcome back to the OJ today. As promised, a man who knows the Northeast Conference inside and out joining me now. That would be Alex Bloomfield, the announcer for the Pickering Panthers. Alex, great to have you on. I haven't seen you for a few months. How are things, buddy?
Hey, it's always good to chat with you again, Alex. It's fantastic. You're right. It's been a long off season, it feels like, so we're ready to go.
We were wrapping up things in the playoffs last time I talked to you, I believe. Last year, of course, you know Pickering inside and out. We're just going to quickly touch on Pickering. You said they would be much improved this year, and they are. Hovering around the 500 level, but talk about a compete level. That team much better this year than last, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely, and I can't take credit for it. I mean, I was the one building the team in the offseason, but I had confidence. That was a quote I took from the management of the team, and yeah, you're right. They got back some of their younger players that they were developing, and they're a year older. The size difference between some of the guys, Davis Seek and Katsumi, is just another level along the boards this year. And then they picked up a few veterans to mix in there, including a goaltender, Adam Wisco, to go with a young 16-year-old goaltender, Ethan Langevin. That's really locked down the goaltending position for Pickering, which has been a big problem in these past, really decade, really.
And then a big pickup last week in Brock Trail as well, the great offensive talent in him, so that'll be great. Unfortunately, they just happen to be stuck in that North Division, which is one of two groups of death so far this year, along with the South. 3 really strong teams in Markham, Newmarket, and Aurora. We're doing a story on Newmarket later in the show, so we'll leave them for now. How about Aurora, though? A team celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Another team that wasn't too impressive last year. The turnaround this year has been just spectacular, hasn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. From worst to first for a little bit there in the North, and they. The Aurora Tigers are going to be a team to reckon with. I would say that the South is significantly better than the North this year. The North does look a bit tougher. Maybe the smaller divisions with the 3 teams so close at the top. But Pickering, I think they can compete with those top 3. And the Aurora Tigers, absolutely, they have depth this year. They didn't have that at all last year. They had Mel Melkonian, who kind of ran away with all the personal individual honors of the team. But this year they got a team that's up and down, one of the better ones in the OJHL. But honestly, your guess is as good as mine as who's coming out of the North between those 3, or even maybe some of the ones below them. So I think it's anyone's up for grabs. But with the 50-year anniversary, right? I think they're all in Aurora, and they're going to be around and probably deep into the playoffs. And
what in addition, Jake Bricknell's been who they got from the RBC champion Coburg Cougars in the offseason. Just unbelievable so far this year. 3rd overall in OJHL scoring. He's a veteran that's really leading that team, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at guys like Andrew Petrucci with the Patriots, the other line that's up there in the top of the league scoring with the Markham Royals. There's two guys in the one line, but Bricknell, he's got 10 more points than anyone else on the Aurora Tigers.
It's amazing,
he seems to be, he's going out there and he's getting it done. He's got some help, but I think more so than some of those other top lines in the OJHL, he's doing a little bit more of the grunt work himself.
A very impressive team, maybe the most this year, has been the Wellington Dukes, just running away with the Northeast Conference right now. One of the youngest teams in the OJHL. And the job that new head coach Scott McCrory has done coming in there and running that team, truly phenomenal. And of course, picking up Penn State-bound Mason Snell as well from the team he was coaching last year, the Whitby Fury. Huge pickup for them. Talk about Wellington and what you've seen so far from them this year.
Yeah, such an interesting coaching carousel there in the offseason through the Northeast. And Wellington, they came out on the top end of it. I guess a lot of teams really tore down. They lost a lot of 96-born players. They're now ineligible to play junior. Wellington was in a little bit of a better position, and they were prepared. They moved some of the guys like Jackson Arcan, Mitchell Martin, moving them up the lineup. They don't have like a top line. It's more of a top two lines of scoring for them. And then their goaltending, again, not without Connor Rickman, they were able to replace him, which is pretty impressive. Jonah Capriotti's been a great find for them, coming out of basically the junior C ranks after he couldn't get on the team in BCHL. They signed him, and he's been really working well for them. Creed Jones as well. The Wellington Dukes, you're right. I think they're going to hold on to it, but they're not like we saw last year with Trenton and Coburg, where you're just far and away. Whippy was there with them, but I think some of these teams can compete with them come a playoff series.
It's going to be it is wide open this year so far. And really quick, I wanted to touch on Kingston, a team that was hovering around the 500 mark for a while. But even back a couple of weeks ago, I was saying, keep your eye on these guys. I remember when they beat Georgetown pretty convincingly a few weeks back. Kingston now up in second place behind Wellington. They've been very impressive of late, haven't they?
Yes, and I got to see the Kingston Voyageurs, I think, a couple weeks ago, and they're always around, as we've chatted about this before. The Kingston Voyageurs will be around come playoff time, almost guaranteed. But Rob Clark up there has been sort of anchoring their offense, and they have a big team up forward, especially. It's been real tough to move them up front. So I think that's been the key to some of their more recent success. And as always, it comes down to the goaltending. And Andrew Ferrier has been pretty good, locking it down there with Withers. So the Kingston Voyageurs, they'll be sniffing around, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them pull up maybe second in the East by the end of things. Right. I think they're a little bit more ready to do that than the Trenton Golden Hawks are, I would say, this year. The
rebuilding a bit, yeah.
But you never know, right? November is a month where things shift around quite quickly in the OJHL as far as player personnel. Speaking
of Trenton alumni, our last thing we're going to touch on, a big hiring last week under the title of What Have You Done For Me lately. John Druce, after winning the RBC title, boy, oh boy, gets released by the Cougars after a slow start. That's the business. A tough pill for him to swallow, but I mean, you couldn't ask for a better replacement. They bring in JD, Jerome Dupont, of course, who won the last two Dudley Hewitt Cups with Trenton. It's a big pickup for the Cougars. Just talk about that and what JD's going to bring that to that team.
Yeah, I just don't know what to think about the coaches and general managers are moving around in the Northeast. I just got to shrug my shoulders. It's tough for me to think of them. There's such rivals that have switched around with these guys, right? So he's one of the best that's been in the OJHL in the recent years. And the Coburg Cougars, again, with that market that they're in, I wouldn't count them out. Yes, they've had a very slow start for Coburg, for Coburg standards, I suppose. But they'll be... I think they'll be right back in the conversation with the top teams in the league. There'll be some moves to be made. They're not far away.
And we had Brent Tully on last week who talked about, he said it's a rebuild and they're at 500. That's pretty good for a rebuild so far. Alex, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. And of course, we're going to have you on again in a couple of weeks. Thanks so much.
A pleasure to talk to you then.
Okay, more OJ Today coming up in just a moment. Welcome back to the OJ Today. Through the first 2 months this year, one thing has become crystal clear. The South has taken over the title as the toughest division in the OJHL that was previously held by the East for the past couple of seasons. Now, the evidence is indisputable so far. The top 4 teams all have records well above 500. Heck, even St. Mike's would currently be second best in the West with its 24 points. Now, North York is one of those teams battling for top spot, led by Vegas Golden Knights draft pick Nick Campoli. They've been a power so far, and they were looking to gained ground on a team just ahead of them in the standings, the Toronto Patriots.
And just 3 points separating these teams right now. The Rangers got Braden Galtchuk back from the Oshawa Generals this year, and the big man, averaging nearly a point per game so far. He makes it 1-0 Rangers early on. Pats even it up though. Jet Alexander gives up the big, fat, juicy, delicious rebound that Michael Bushey devours. And he makes it a 1-1 hockey game. Back comes North York though. Just follow the bouncing puck here, because somehow it finds its way past keeper Tyler Fassel, and the visitors go back up. It's 2-1. Second frame, Alexander with one of the stops of the week on Andrew Petrucci, robbing the OJ scoring leader with the sweet glove hand on the one-timer. Nothing he could do about this one, though. Oliver Benwell, he of the Benwell dynasty that also includes brother Evan, with the howitzer that beats Jet, all tied up at 2 apiece. Third period, though, all Rangers. Vegas Golden Knights draft pick Nick Campoli shows why they like him so much. What a wrister to beat Fassel. 3-2 North York. And then Jesse Tucker decides to just keep it himself. Pretty wise decision. The laser beats Fassel. 4-2 North York. They'd add one more to make it a 5-2 final. The Pats actually in a mini slide right now as they've lost 4 of their last 6 games.
Well, it's been a tough go for the Lindsay Muskies so far this season. The Fish have been struggling to find some consistency in the much improved North Division. Now, you can't win, obviously, if you can't score goals, and the Muskies have the second lowest tally of any team in the OJ. Now, unfortunately, their one big scoring option, All-Star Brock Trail, was traded to Pickering last week, so the Fish were going to have to find some way to fill the net as they hit the road to take on Stouffville.
Yeah, scoring's been a problem, but early on, they weren't having any troubles. Ryan Smith with a nice solo effort. He beats Nathan Torchia. The Fish out to a 1-0 lead. Spirit respond just 2 minutes later, though. Jack Varga with the fierce one-timer. Pass Blake Curran, all knotted up at 1 apiece. Second frame. Pick it up with the Spirit leading 2-1. Gregory Arnberg with one of the goals of the week. Don't blink. A rocket pass Torchia. They tie it up 2-2. Soon after, though, Spirit on the power play. Nice pass to Bo Binney. Out front, 0 chance for Curran. Spirit back up 3-2. Last time the Muskies got 3 goals in a game, back on October 28th, they matched that right there. Cameron Robinson scores. It was 3-3. All Spirit from that point on, though. Curtis Ron smashes it past Curran on the one-timer. No stopping that one. They would go on to add 2 more to make it a 6-3 Spirit final. Stouffville's first win in 5 games, actually. Okay, rapidly improving St. Mike's traveled to Orangeville last weekend. All buzzers in this one. 6-17 in Dylan Jackson. Nice moves. Dances past everyone to make it 1-0. The Flyers would respond, though. 2-on-1 break. Eric Deander to Kevin Shermley. Orangeville knots it up at 1 apiece. St. Mike's retakes the lead, though, and never relinquishes it. Nicholas Zabinin, nice solo effort. Christian Hufsky might want that back, though. Brothers back on top, 2-1. Orangeville absolutely clueless in its own zone here. They give it up. Jonah Alexander says, I'll take it. 3-1, St. Mike's at the break. Second period, it gets way worse for the Flyers. Everyone ignores Joseph Jovenko. He slams it home to make it 4-1 buzzers. 3 minutes later, Colton Tremblant, stick on the ice. Good man. Deflects it home to stretch the St. Mike's advantage to 4 goals. Third period, they keep piling it on. Hufsky can only do so much here. Makes about 3 stops. Finally, Alexander pokes it home. 6-1 St. Mike's, and then Zabina with an absolute beauty. Watch the hands at full speed. Pure domination. Buzzers now leading 7-1. The final nail in the coffin. Flyers can't clear again. Eventually, it's Drake LaFontaine knocking it over the line. Great game for the Buzzers. Uncharacteristic blowout loss for the Flyers, though, who've been competitive all season so far. Eastern Canada Cup results. Tuesday, Nieuwendyk goes down to CCHL White 5-1. Coffee goes down to CCHL Red 3-2. Howard Chuck drops NOJHL, and Oates drops the MHL. And then on Wednesday, Coffee over NOJHL, Nieuwendyk over MHL. But Howard Chuck goes down to Burroughs, and St. Louis of the Quebec League downs Oates. And then the semifinals took place. Howard Chuck went down to St. Louis. And ultimately, St. Louis won the competition. The most important thing, this of course being used to select the roster for the upcoming World Junior A Challenge. Great event in Trenton. OJHL standings in the North, Newmarket holding on to that slim lead over Aurora, followed by Markham, who's tied with Aurora, actually, Pickering, Stouffville, and Lindsay. In the East, Wellington, 12-point bulge over Kingston, followed by Trenton closely, Cobourg and Whitby picking up their 4th win this week. In the South, Oakville holding a lead over the Patriots. The GRC is just 2 points behind, followed closely by North York, and then Mississauga, much improved Mississauga, and St. Mike's. In the West, Georgetown, healthy lead over Buffalo, followed by Burlington, who's tied with Orangeville in 4th place. Milton, just 1 win so far.
Welcome back to the OJ Today. Well, last season was up and down for the Newmarket Hurricanes. They started slow and then picked it up and grabbed the 8th and final playoff spot in the Northeast, where they came within a whisker of pulling off a massive upset against number 1 seeded Trenton. Now that momentum has carried over into this season. The Canes are currently front runners in the North, and we take a look at what's been clicking in Newmarket in this week's team report, brought to you by Cliff Bar, the official energy bar and sports nutrition food of the OJHL.
Not one prognosticator picked the Newmarket Hurricanes to beat the defending champion Trenton Golden Hawks in the first round of last year's playoffs. In fact, most predicted it would be over in 4 straight games. Don't think the Hurricanes didn't notice. They used the slap as motivation and shockingly took 2 of the first 3 games against the Hawks before finally succumbing in 6.
Not many people had a vote for us, so we wanted to prove a lot of teams wrong. We wanted to make the league a surprise too.
Going into the series, we knew that we were seen as the underdogs, so we would have had to perform really well to, play at a level that would have, given us the ability to compete with them. Through Tom's coaching, he really made us believe in ourselves and believe that we had the ability to win. And then once we won that first game of the series, we really started to, actually believe that we had a chance. So then we built off there, and then we took them to 6. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way, but we definitely gave them a good run.
This year, the Hurricanes have built on that learning experience. All season, they've been battling for top spots in the North Division. This, despite the graduation of their 2 top scorers from last year, Todd Winder and Marco Bazzo.
Well, losing Todd Winder, he was a phenomenal captain, great leader, and he led by example on the ice. Bazzo was more flash with his skating, but losing those points really hurt us. So this year, we're going to have to score by committee. And by scoring by committee, we also have to work real strong on the defense and the goaltending part of the game.
They've accomplished all those things and then some. Tied for the fewest goals allowed in the league so far due to strong goaltending and the return of their top 6 defensemen. And forward Owen Ramsey has been a revelation, leading the Canes in scoring by a good margin.
He's a playmaker, so he has great vision. He can find the open guys, and he has a good scoring touch. So if you find him or give him a seam, he'll bury it.
Ramsey shares the captaincy this year with standout defenseman Christian DiDonato.
In my exit interviews, I asked different guys if they had to pick captains, and it kept coming back to those 2. And a bit superstitious, I saw Windsor last year do the 2 captain thing, and it worked out pretty well for them. So I thought, you know what? It's not about one guy, and we're preaching it's about team. So we've got 2 captains, and everybody's happy. DiDonato brings a calming influence back there. People don't realize that this is his 5th year in the league, and I believe around December 2nd, Pierce set the record for the most games played in this league in the history. So 5 years is a long time, and he doesn't get the fanfare that other guys get because he just does his job out there.
D-man Cole Thiessen is another reason why the Canes have been so adept at keeping the puck out of their net.
Cole's a really offensive defenseman. He can skate very well, really fast. I actually have the privilege of playing with him right now, so he's a good asset on the side beside me, and I always love moving the puck to him. He can wheel, makes a good first pass.
Third-year Hurricane Alex Iarullo has upped his offensive game this year and sits second behind Ramsey in team scoring.
I've played with Alex. This is our third year, playing on the same line together. So I've known him for a pretty long time. We've built some chemistry together, and he's just such a good player to play with. He has such good vision in the offensive zone, and he's very responsible defensively as well. And his hockey IQ is definitely around the top of the league for sure. So anytime you get to play with someone like that, it's pretty special.
4-point night, all right? You need to put some breathing room between the first place, the second place, and third place team. Make sure we're disciplined and we're going at them hard. Here you go, boys, here you
go. The Canes have bought into the system preached by head coach Thomas Milne, and they know that in a year where the league is wide open, the sky's the limit.
This year, it's a little more wide open. I think everyone's talking about that, how the league's, almost up for grabs in a way. But our hot start's been pretty good for us, but it'll be hard to stay at the top. But moving forward, hopefully we can continue the way we've been playing, and then if we happen to make it that far, I can trust that the guys will do everything we can to make a long playoff run for sure.
Okay, the Chaos Top 5 brought to you by Chaos Hats, the official hat provider to the Ontario Junior Hockey League. Number 5, North York's Jet Alexander, the larceny on OJHL leading scorer Andrew Petrucci. Great glove hand save there. Number 4, Lindsay's Gregory Arnberg steals and absolutely tattoos it past Stouffville's Nathan Torchia. Gorgeous shot. Number 3, St. Mike's' Nicholas Zabinet. How he does this at full speed, I don't know. The dishpan soft hands to beat the keeper. Number 2, the JRC's Dalton Ewing is becoming a fixture in the top 5. He gets down to Rob Mississauga's Christopher Carabassis. And number 1, same game, Jack McBain, already with 2 goals, gets the Hattie on a sublime rush. McBain holding steady as a projected top 20 pick in next summer's NHL draft. You can see why. That's our Chaos Play of the Week.
And we've got to run all out of time for this week, but to keep up to date on everything with the OJHL, all the news, stats, and standings, just remember to head to ojhl.ca. And of course, you've got all your social media options to check out as well. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next week.